Everybody, I'm Prim Saripapet. Well, last month when Derrick Rose was asked how close he was to being 100% after having ACL surgery last year, he said it was in the high 80s. Then today, when the Chicago Bulls star guard was asked when he would return, he said, "Nobody knows but God." Well, maybe our guest today will have an answer. Joining us right now, Nick Friedell, Chicago Bulls beat writer for ESPNChicago.com. So, Nick, do you have an answer for us? When will he return?
I wish I did, Prim. I just don't think, and I've thought this since Derrick spoke in February, right before the All-Star break, I just don't think Derrick's going to come back this year. And I haven't felt as strongly as I do about it until now. I mean, he, in as many words, said there's a bigger picture and there's more to it than just this season. He said he's 24 years old. And when I asked him to put a percentage on where he was at now, he said, I just don't feel like I can do that right now. And he did say that it could happen any day, but in talking to people around Derrick, I think that Derrick just feels like he's not to the place where he wants to be to return this year, both mentally, physically. He just doesn't feel like the same player, and he thinks with a few more months of rehab, he may get there. So, no, I don't know for sure when, but if I were putting my own money on it, I would say Derrick's not coming back this year.
Well, you have to look at the Chicago Bulls position. I mean, right now, which is Thursday, they're sitting at 6th in the Eastern Conference. So they're not completely suffering without him. And there's only a month left in the regular season. So what do you think the Bulls' position is in terms of really taking care of Rose and his health?
Well, they're going to stand behind him because, Prim, they have no choice. Let's face it, this is the franchise. This is the guy who will, hopefully for them, carry them into the next 10 years of existence. So they're going to stand behind him, but I can tell you there are plenty of people within the organization that would love to see him out there. So that will be an interesting storyline to follow throughout the summer if, in fact, Derrick doesn't come back and play this year. As for this year's team, yes, they're 6th, and yes, they've had some nice wins, but this is a banged-up bunch right now. And they've got Joakim Noah and Luol Deng and a slew of other guys, Kirk Heinrich, Taj Gibson, who have played through a variety of different injuries. And the sad part for them is they all believed that Derrick was going to come back at some point this year. They didn't know when, but they thought that he would come back. And now the reality has started to sink in and has been for the last few weeks that Derrick's probably not coming back. So this team is kind of running out of gas at the wrong time, and now they're not going to get that emotional lift, it looks like, of Derrick returning and maybe carrying them through a round or two of the playoffs.
Yeah, that puts a lot of pressure on them mentally and physically. So considering all that, how far can they go this year?
I would be surprised if they got anywhere past the second round, and I know there's a lot of people that think they won't even get there. They'll get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. It all depends on the matchups, as it always does in the playoffs. I think they could beat a team like Brooklyn. They could beat the Knicks, but I don't see them beating a team like the Pacers. I don't see any chance of them beating the Miami Heat. So they're looking at max probably a ceiling of the second round of the playoffs. And if they got there, Prim, Bulls fans don't want to hear this, but if they got there given the circumstances and given all the injuries they've dealt with this season, that would be great for Tom Thibodeau and his team.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are wondering who could beat the Miami Heat right now.
Nobody.
Exactly.
And you know what? That's the age-old question for the Chicago fans. Even if Derrick were 100% healthy and back, that's still the ceiling they're running into, and that's going to be the case for the next couple of years, assuming that Miami stays intact. How can the Bulls get past the Heat? And I think that that's the fear within the organization is right now, given the pieces they have, they may not be able to.
All right, Nick Friedell, thanks so much for your time.
All right.